It's Ken Harbaugh with Against All Enemies on the Midas Touch Network. We have been raising the alarm here about Project 2025 for months. Huge credit to the whole Midas Touch team for all their efforts to turn this into a major election issue. It's working because the Trump campaign is now scrambling to distance itself from this backward-looking vision for America. All of their denials are basically confessions. Just about everyone involved in Project 2025 is tied somehow to Trump or MAGA. J.D. Vance is actually writing the foreword for a new book coming out by the chief architect of Project 2025, Kevin Roberts, the president of the Heritage Foundation. So don't think for a second that Trump's backtracking is in any way sincere, or that the ambitions of the arch conservatives and Christian nationalists who power his campaign have in any way been tempered, because they haven't. And unfortunately for Heritage and the Project 2025 team, a trove of videos were just leaked about the project. These aren't just explainer videos. These are recruiting videos designed to prepare the shock troops of a second Trump administration to seize every instrument of power and exercise them ruthlessly. Here's just a sampling.
You can't be a political appointee if you don't believe in the president's vision.
Career bureaucrats and the left are also using language to change culture and gain more and more authority.
And you're coming into a place, Washington, D.C., that does not share your conservative values. They're even hostile to it.
How does the president carry out his functions? And the way he does it is through orders.
If the American people elect a conservative president, his administration will have to eradicate climate change references from absolutely everywhere.
If you're not on board with helping implement a dramatic course correction because you're afraid it'll damage your future employment prospects, it'll harm you socially, look, I get it. That's a real danger. It's a real thing. But please, do us all a favor and sit this one out.
I spoke with Olivia Julianna about all this. She's one of my favorite guests here on Against All Enemies, and she had some great insights into the dangers posed by Project 2025, especially to those most vulnerable to the Christian nationalist agenda. She also has a warning about the media infrastructure that these Project 2025 extremists are building to support their efforts. Take a listen. You bring up something about Project 2025 that I don't think is talked about nearly enough, which is that it's not just an ambitious list of policy proposals running to nearly 1,000 pages. They're building the infrastructure to enact it. You talked about collecting resumes. This isn't just think tank stuff. This is government in waiting stuff.
Yeah, 100% it is. And you know, that they being like, you know, Donald Trump and the Republicans, they know that this is an issue that is motivating people and people are aware of, because they've started to walk back from it. Here's the thing about this that really concerns me. If this is what they have put into writing,
I know where you're going.
This is what they have made public. What are they not telling us that they are planning on doing? And the thing is people might say, oh, well, don't be hyperbolic. You know, oh, it's not possible for them to get rid of the Civil Rights Act. Oh, it's not possible for them to ban interracial marriage. A lot of people said, well, it's not possible for them to overturn Roe v. Wade. And yet here we are. And I think that, you know, Lincoln Project had an ad about this that was, you know, you thought a lot of things weren't possible 4 years ago. And now here we are. They're building the infrastructure. They are fielding the names. They have gotten the resumes for people to hire not only into the federal government. The other thing that they've done is the right has built out a large, broad, sweeping network of influencers and media personalities who will help them shape this narrative. And I got onto a couple journalists about this because I was like, you know, you guys talk a lot about Joe Biden courting influencers and the White House having influencers come and do roundtables. I don't see you all talking about the fact that there were influencers at the RNC. I don't see you all talking about the fact that there is proof that Republicans have paid influencers to try to sway public opinion on an issue, i.e. Ken Paxton when he was undergoing impeachment. They changed the election code in Texas, the Election Ethics Commission changed it because Ken Paxton was paying off influencers to post pro Ken Paxton content and during his impeachment. I don't see people talking about that. And so I kind of see this overarching picture here of they've got the infrastructure and the means to tear the federal government down from the inside out. But now they also have the arm to normalize this to the public. And they will do that if we do not hold them accountable to it and we do not ensure that people know that this is absolutely insane.
Yep. Well, that's why we're here, Olivia. Thank you so much for coming on today. We're going to continue to hold them accountable. Let's talk again soon. My full interview with Olivia comes out soon on Burn the Boats. It's a good one. I hope you'll tune in. I want to end with this ad from the Lincoln Project that Olivia referenced. It is, as my kids would say, a banger. Brace yourselves.
On January 20th, 2025, Donald Trump is sworn in as the 47th President of the United States. Unfortunately, he keeps his promises. Trump seizes control of a divided government, signing hundreds of executive orders implementing Project 2025. Trump replaces over 50,000 civil servants with hardline MAGA loyalists. The federal oath of office now requires declaring loyalty to the president, not the Constitution. Protected by the Supreme Court's grant of total immunity for official acts, Donald Trump orders the Department of Justice to arrest members of the January 6th Commission, current and former DOJ employees, and political opponents for treason, election interference, and conspiracy. He declares it to be an official act. Trump ends birthright citizenship by executive order and turns millions of American-born citizens into illegal aliens overnight. Mass deportations begin. Hundreds of thousands, including legal U.S. residents and American citizens, are imprisoned in newly built camps. Protests erupt. Trump addresses the nation from the Oval Office, invoking the Insurrection Act and declaring the protesters a danger to American sovereignty. He orders the National Guard to use deadly force to suppress the protests. In the wake of the bloody violence, Trump declares nationwide martial law, awarding himself new powers under the freshly signed American Sovereignty Protection Order, which defines protest of immigration policies as non-protected speech and a threat to national security. Governors in New York, California, Illinois, and elsewhere declare their opposition, promising to refuse compliance in their states. Trump orders their arrests. Trump pardons every January 6th attacker, including those who assaulted the police, and in a White House ceremony issues a new presidential medal honoring them. Many are given jobs in his administration. The Department of Education is renamed the Department of American Values and mandates a nationwide Christian nationalist curriculum for all schools receiving federal aid. Trump, joined by Speaker Mike Johnson and evangelical leaders, announces that the Department of Health and Human Services has reclassified mifepristone, making it illegal to distribute or prescribe, as well as new HHS regulations that make IVF treatments impossible to legally administer. Trump reverses one campaign promise by declaring a national abortion ban by executive order. Challenges to his authority are rejected by the Supreme Court, which has seen new appointments from Trump after it was expanded to 12 justices. He signs an executive order removing abortion records from HIPAA privacy regulations and announces a new federal data sharing program so states can monitor women's periods. Thousands are detained while crossing state lines under suspicion of seeking an abortion. Trump's acting Secretary of Defense, a disgraced ex-general, fires over 400 generals and admirals, leaving the military leaderless. Other Trump appointees purge the ranks of the CIA, FBI, and Department of Justice. By executive order, Trump withdraws the United States from NATO and ends Pentagon cooperation with Ukraine. Russian tanks enter Kyiv. Vladimir Zelensky is killed. It is announced that Trump will run for a third term, claiming he was unfairly cheated in the 2020 election. His Supreme Court ultimately agrees with this interpretation, paving the way for Trump's 2028 re-election. If you hear all this and believe it isn't possible, then ask yourself, what did you believe was impossible just 8 years ago? This isn't a fantasy. It's Trump's plan, and he's counting on you to believe it couldn't happen.
Hey everyone, it's Ken Harbaugh, and I need to take a quick break here to ask for a favor. When I first started doing this show, I hoped it would catch on, but I didn't really believe we'd get to where we are today. That's because of all of you watching and sharing and supporting what we're trying to do here. If you're able to, please consider subscribing on Patreon. It's free to sign up, and if you want to chip in $5 a month, I promise every dollar goes back into this show and into the other pro-democracy work I care about, like my reporting from Ukraine. Head over to patreon.com/Ken Harbaugh to check it out. Thanks for everything.